What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction. It's been a while since I've done a Ditko review, and so I thought it was high time we did one. This is the Ditko Monsters Conga volume, and it's a giant hardcover from Yoei Books and IDW, and it looks bigger than it actually is. So basically there's about 16 issues in here, which is a sizable hardcover, but this very thick paper on this, and so it ends up going pretty fast when you read it. Now, I was not super into this concept when I first got into it because I was like, this is a King Kong knockoff, obviously, and like, what's this going to be? And so they go over the history of Conga and how King Kong was such a hit that they wanted to develop these movies that were kind of like that. And they did, and this was kind of like a B-movie sort of thing. There were novels, they were making a whole franchise out of it, and they decided to do the comics. Now, the intro also goes through every single comic and kind of gives a synopsis and brief review of the comic, which is nice. What I do on things like that is I don't like to spoil things when I'm reading them, so I will just reference this, and this is how I read comics whenever there's anything like this. And I'll reference this, and I'll know this page is here, and after I read issue number 1, I'll read the number 1 synopsis, and then I will do the same for the next issues. Lots of nice upfront things, lots of drawings here, and of course, look at this Ditko stuff. So this is neat. Ditko really drew this awesome-looking giant ape, and I actually really love the way it looks. Classic comic stuff, and as much as I'm not into the whole monster kaiju whatever thing, especially the King Kong, I'm actually looking forward to the Gorgo book, which is the Godzilla knockoff, a little bit more. But so I was kind of dreading reading this, but I'm going to read every Steve Ditko everything because the guy is awesome. Look at these scared expressions of people down in here. Now, when were these drawn? These were drawn in like 1960, 1961, 1962 for Charlton Comics, right as Ditko's getting into that era where he's doing Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. So it's right before all of that, and he's doing short comics for Marvel at this time. And towards the end of this run, he ends up being able to do a couple of things, and that the issues move over to other artists, and you could tell, actually, I'll show you kind of that he was penciling, and it was very clear that somebody else finished the inks towards the end of this, and he was getting busier with Marvel, and then there's a couple one-off issues after that, and it just kind of ends. So that's it. Conga. Who is Conga? So he is just this monkey grown in a lab, and they found him in Africa, they brought him back, and the first issue is his origin story, and they give him a growth serum, and he just becomes so big, it's impossible to deal with him. Now, this was pretty cool. I enjoyed the first issue, and I liked it better than I thought I was going to like it as the concept. Of course, Ditko's art is Ditko's art. You know what you're getting with him. You get just really robust expressions of just like fear and concern when they're there. Beautiful stuff like this. And in this one, you get an awesome-looking giant ape in every single one. Now, every issue, they had the covers up front that he drew, and then it just goes into the issues. It tells you what issue it is at the bottom of the first page of each issue, which it does start traditionally like these Silver Age ones do. This is kind of hard. This book's really oversized and big, so it's hard to get the art in focus here. With a sort of synopsis that kind of goes over the situation, then it goes back to how they got into that situation. And Kong had lived from the last issue, and our friends, the professor and his girlfriend, assistant, whatever it is, go and find him among these natives and have to deal with pirates also. And Conga saves them from being burned at the stake because he fights another monster. And then they're on the island. And on the island, I believe this is the one where every issue also goes into his origin and how he was doing things again. And they're back, and they're trying to find a serum to make Conga normal again. And so you have a continuing story, which is unusual for stuff at this time. We are still in a very episodic mode for comics, and yet they're back. They run back to Conga, and Conga blows up a Nazi submarine in the island, and that's that this time. So they get captured again. Basically, Conga rescues them again, and they have this serum now that can make him littler again. At least they think they does, and that doesn't last for very long. So they end up shipwrecked on another island. And look at Conga there. Very odd drawing here. This one maybe didn't work out as well as some of the others. Very Ditko-esque, though. You can look at this and go, this is Steve Ditko. You can tell by the eyes and by the mouth. Even though, you know, the gorilla isn't really shaped properly, you can tell it's a Ditko drawing. Very nice. And Conga's on this island, and they have to get out, and they can't really bring him with them, and he blows up at that point. And the first issue this next issue recaps that, and then Conga gets thrown and thrust into this island of other giant apes, and he has to fight all of them off. And then this is where the series really changes. So we had those two characters, the professor and his girlfriend, who Conga really loved her because she was the only person to show kindness to him. And so they really were the common thread for the first 6 issues. And now different people come in. And it's often a pairing of a male and female. And they actually take him and put him into a circus here. And we get a brief reference to our prior protagonists, but everything sort of changes at this point, and they just become one-off stories that really don't tie to each other. And, you know, it kind of went downhill, not going to lie. The storytelling was really fun for about the first 6 issues, and then after that, it's like, meh, we get the circus, and then he fights people, and now he's going to fight aliens. And we don't really have the same background people, so there's nobody to relate to, really. I mean, we feel bad for Conga in his situation. But you know, then he rescues the world from aliens, and they don't even know it. And we do get a brief, our friends are back, and they read about it in the papers, because they're not involved here. And then Conga goes to Antarctica, where he ends up in a common trope also, which is there's this dinosaur paradise down in there, and he fights some dinosaurs. So there's really cool Steve Ditko art with, like, you know, this pterodactyl and the whatchamacallit, these dinosaurs, T-Rex. Lots of fights. Conga decides he doesn't like it there and leaves. So it's like, you know, the characterizations really don't matter as much now in the storytelling, which is by Joe Gill, who wrote all the scripts for these. And it becomes a little more trite. So it just seems like they're paying a little less attention to it. Now, that was enjoyable, and I enjoyed looking at the dinosaurs by Ditko, but whatever. And now Conga goes to the USSR, and the commies are mistreating this guy, as they are wont to do. And he's a scientist, and Conga kind of rescues him, and he actually can talk to Conga and understands him. And then they end up blowing up all these commie rockets. So, in this point forward, I laughed at this because I enjoy watching people blow up the commies. But there's a lot of issues that end up like this from this point forward, and they kind of start to rehash concepts also. So it's like, the creativity really just goes downhill quickly in this story. Now we get mole men from under the earth, and these scientists are looking, different scientists, not our main ones that were from the last one, are looking at this stuff under the earth, and these mole men come up, and then Conga saves them from him. And Conga really becomes a hero here. He's really a gentle guy who really wants to rescue everybody, is what it ends up being. He's not a bad dude. He's not King Kong, who's really menacing people. He's kind of a happy gorilla, and people just mess with him, and so it's a lot like the Hulk, right? The Hulk just like wants to be left alone, but people won't leave him alone, keep blowing him up with these mushroom clouds. And these are hunters going after him at this point, and they've got a bet that they can take down Conga, but they realize he's such a nice ape that they actually don't want to. And it all's well that ends well, as they end the bet and win it anyway, because they did technically capture Conga, but he captured them. And like I said, there's just nothing to really care about too much at this point. You don't have characters. Conga gets into a situation, and he gets trapped at this point. We do bring back our people finally from the early issues. So we finally get our characters back from the laboratory in England. And what are their names? I don't even remember their names, but it is the blonde lady and the professor. And they are trying to wait and rescue Conga out of this area where everybody's kind of scared for him. And they kind of save him again. So that's that. We get a South American dictator commie this time. And Conga stops the tyrant commie. Pretty fun. And I really think that one right there was the last interesting storyline, where he was trapped in the snow and then he had to be rescued by the characters we actually care about. We get another alien invasion storyline where Konga again stops an alien invasion. Like I said, they're rehashing stories at this point. Ditko does a good job because they were weird, funky aliens last time. Now they're human-looking ones with weird, futuristic sci-fi helmets. So interesting design work done on the Ditko level. It's just the story's not holding up at this point. By this point, you're so far into it, you're just... If you're not into, like, King Kong stuff, you're just like, man, this is rough. And that's where I got to be with this situation. If you are into King Kong stuff, you'll probably really enjoy this because it's just an ape beating things up over and over again. This is another mad scientist in a communist situation where he's trying to control... The twist is this time he's trying to control Konga. And that's actually the end of the first series. And you'll see this is where it actually starts that you can tell Ditko's not doing the finishes here. These are not Ditko eyes or looks. This is not Ditko style faces anymore. This is not Ditko style action anymore. He may have done the layouts or whatnot, but it's definitely not the same as it was back here. I mean, this face in particular is very not... doesn't feel like Ditko's work on the finishes. And so I believe, I can't remember who, I believe Joe Stanton is credited with the finishes on here. I'm not sure. And that's interesting. So that's the main Konga series. And then Konga ends as a series, and they relaunch it as Konga's Revenge. We don't have issue number 1, so they don't collect everything. They only collect the work that's attributed to Steve Ditko in some regard here. This one actually, yeah, it was Konga number 15. So that was the last issue of that series. You could tell that he was having some help done to finish these. Also, same thing for this last issue of Konga. You can tell these are not Ditko looks, because Ditko's got a very specific way he makes the eyes look. There's a pained, it's hard to describe. There's a pained look to it. There's a bright-eyed, pained look to a Ditko character, and this doesn't have that. And it just comes across a little sillier, and I don't like looking at that art as much, honestly. So, Konga's Revenge, he gets shrunk down into a mini Konga and has to figure out how to fight mice and stuff like that. And then once he gets bigger again, he kind of realizes that he shouldn't be go on grumpy rampages. And that's it. So that's the end of the book there. Really went out on a low note, and we got that one glimpse of the main characters we enjoyed from the beginning towards the end of the series there. But after about the first 6 issues, it just goes downhill from a storytelling perspective. And those last couple of issues, Ditko obviously had help from other inkers finishing up the things. And it makes sense. So when those issues hit for the last 2 issues, that's when Amazing Spider-Man launched. So Ditko went from doing the shorts, which he could do and probably handle some other work along with that, to actually doing a full-scale monthly book by himself, and that actually changed the dynamics there. That's very interesting as you watch his style. He's really on the art level, hit that level where he can do the storytelling and just the awesome visuals that he can do on Amazing Spider-Man or on Doctor Strange by this point. And this is where he is once I think he really masters the craft around the 30th issue of Spider-Man. So he's about 3 years off of that, where he becomes like the Ditko of like, whoa. So I'm glad I read it. It's not really my cup of tea as in terms of a theme, in terms of what it is. I thought the first 6 issues with their sort of continuing storyline with the 2 characters who were looking out for Kongo, really great. And it kind of goes downhill from then, and it just feels like they were phoning it in a little more than getting their creativity on towards the end of this series. Overall, just because there's so much content that was just a little tough to get through, I gotta say it's like a 7 out of 10. It's still Ditko at the end of the day, but I've read a lot more interesting work of his. I do love the presentation with the giant oversized hardcover. This is both wider and taller than a normal comic, which I don't have one on me right now. And so nice stuff, big and thick and sturdy, and you get to really look at the art well at that. I'm glad that the paper is thick and it's printed on non-gloss paper because I don't like the reflection from gloss. And that's about my review. Let me know if you've read this. I'd be interested to hear. I don't know how many people have read this. Very interesting stuff. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.